Ju përshëndes të gjithëve në këtë bisedë që do të zhvillojmë në studio, do të fokusohemi tek zhvillimi më i rëndësishëm ndërkombëtar i ditëve të fundit. Rreth 2 muaj më parë, palestinezët u gëzuan në një farë mënyre nga një zhvillim pozitiv që i dha fund rivalitetit të vjetër mes dy forcave më të mëdha politike, Hamas dhe Fatah, pas një vendimi që u mor për të krijuar një qeveri të unitetit kombëtar. Por rreth 18 ditë më parë shpërtheu dhuna mes Hamasit dhe Izraelit. Ajo çka e shkaktoi fillimisht për shkallëzimin e dhunës ishte rrëmbimi dhe vrasja e 3 adoleshentëve izraelit në bregun perëndimor në 12 qershor të këtij viti. Qeveria izraelite akuzoi menjëherë Hamasin dhe nisi arrestimet në masë, duke arrestuar 200 anëtar të Hamasit në bregun perëndimor dhe duke mbyllur të gjitha organizatat që kanë lidhje me Hamasin. Ndërsa aktualisht që flasin janë mbi 650 viktima nga radhët e palestinezëve dhe 31 nga viktima izraelite në vetëm këto 18 ditë luftime, ndërsa dhuna vazhdon. Pikërisht për këto do të diskutojmë për të kuptuar se çfarë ndodhi dhe pse arriti në këtë situatë në vend që të vijojë me bisedimet apo tentativat e komunitetit ndërkombëtar për të gjetur një zgjidhje përfundimtare për çështjen e Palestinës dhe për të vijuar negociatat izraelito-palestineze. Kam të ftuar në studio zotin Yasser Najjar, është ambasadori i Palestinës në Shqipëri. Mr. Ambassador, thank you and welcome to AE1 Report.
Thank you for having me.
First of all, let's start. What started, in your opinion, all this conflict, this new conflict between Hamas and Israeli?
Well, it's not a matter of my opinion. The events which are being monitored by hundreds of news agencies tell you that 3 weeks ago, some Israeli settlers in the West Bank kidnapped a 17-year-old young man, Mohammed Abu Khdeir, pumped gasoline in his mouth and burned him alive. A few hours and days after this vicious incident, 16 Palestinians were shot by the Israeli army, some of them in their homes, some while going to work, and some in confrontation, unarmed confrontation from the Palestinian side. Plus 600 Palestinian civilians were arrested in the West Bank, including parliamentarians, 11 elected members of the Palestinian parliament.
And this was because...
This is before as a retaliation for 3
teenagers,
which until now nobody knows who kidnapped them. I assume that any Palestinian political organization would announce immediately if in their eyes they've succeeded to kidnap settlers or Israeli soldiers. Nobody does that for fun. It is criminal, it is unclear, it is vague. So to launch this massive war on Gaza for suspicion, who kidnapped 3 young Israelis, is unheard of.
Yes, but Israel has pointed the finger towards Hamas for these 3 killings.
Where are the evidence? Hamas did not announce. Every time if Hamas or any Palestinian party succeeds in kidnapping an Israeli soldier or a settler, they announce after 2 hours. Why? Because they have demands. This did not happen, so it's obvious.
I see. Till now, we have more than 650 people killed in Gaza, in Gaza Strip. Now, the United Nations is also accusing Israel about the assaults that are not being attentive of caring about civilians, because the Israeli government has said that its assaults are very objectives on Hamas only. What is the situation from the people you know in Gaza? I don't know if you have your own people there that tell you what is the situation right now in
Yes, my
Gaza
family
Strip.
is there. I have one of my friends, and he's the secretary of our foreign minister. 27 people of his immediate family were killed in one strike in Gaza.
Of
one family.
Of one family
Yeah,
only?
the family of
the whole family?
The whole family. People in Gaza, like Norway, one family buys a piece of land and build 4, 5, 6 stories. Well, all the families and their children live together. So, if you want to assassinate a leader, you don't destroy a whole building, and the leader is not even there, a political leader from Hamas or the PLO or anybody. This is a war to punish, to embed in the Palestinian public conscious how vicious Israel could be, so they would change their mind. It's a political war. Plus, anybody who have seen the promos for the Apaches, the manufacturers of the Apaches, the promotional videos, can see what the pilot can see from inside the Apache. So they're not shooting. You know, when you have an 82% collateral damage, this is not collateral damage. This is something we never seen before. 32 families in Gaza, from the 650 some killed, 32 families are totally dead, whole families. Children, hundreds of children, more than 82% are children.
More than 82%?
82, and the UN will have the records, not us. 82% are women and children. They even bombed the hospital for the handicapped and the elderly. Yesterday, a German Palestinian engineer working for the power company, him, his wife, and 4 kids were killed by shooting a rocket into a building of 11 stories, demolishing five stories out of the 11 stories. This is assassination? Do you use F-16s and Apaches to assassinate one person?
Is Israeli, on your opinion, committing war crimes in Gaza?
For sure, by all means, by all laws, international, and all the clauses and sub-clauses of the international law. And the UN will have a say, and it's not us. Today there is a meeting in Geneva for the Human Rights Committee, and it will come up with their findings very soon.
Yes, and Navi Pillay, who's the top human rights official in the United Nations, has also condemned these Israeli actions in Gaza Strip. And she has been saying that war crimes may have been committed. You talked about a war of politics. Why? What's the purpose of Israeli, of this escalation?
A month ago, you and I were talking in the report about the reconciliation government between the PLO and Hamas.
Yes.
And we were hoping, and it's a technocrat government, it's not a partisan government, we were hoping that this government will be able to do 2 things, the mandate. One is to rebuild what has been destroyed in Gaza in 2012 by the Israelis and 2008-9. The second mandate is to prepare for elections, presidential and parliamentarian. So the Palestinian people will choose what do they want, their leadership. This war is to end this government. Then they can pinpoint as if the whole problem is between Israel and the radicals and the Palestinians, which is quote-unquote Hamas. So it's an evasive war. They don't want to sit in the negotiating table. They'll do anything, the Israelis, not to sit in the negotiating table. They've been doing this for 20 years. And I want to remind the Israelis and the Palestinians, everybody, it is radical Israelis who killed Prime Minister Rabin, who signed this peace agreement.
Because
it is not Palestinians who killed them. It is the Israelis who are today in control in the government who killed their own prime minister.
Because if everything would go fine with the new government of the national unity, Israeli should have been obliged to sit in the same table
to accept
of
it.
Hamas and Fatah, right?
Mr. Kerry, the US government was the biggest supporter of Israel, accepted the unity government, accepted it last month, 6 weeks ago.
Yes, but now Mr. Kerry and United States of America are saying that Israel has its own right to defend itself and its citizen from Hamas rockets.
If they're supporting in principle, every country, every nation, we also have the right to defend ourselves.
Yourselves.
But, you know, it's not a war. A war is an F-16 against a MiG or a Sukhoi. An F-16 against homemade rockets is not a war. It's one-sided attack. If the United States or anybody on earth recognizes the state of Israel, which was created on my country in 1948, okay, to defend itself, we have the right to defend ourselves by our own means. Right and wrong is not weighed by what kind of weapons you have. It's the right to defend yourself, and we are defending ourselves.
Do you think this whole new conflict, was kind of provoked? In a sense that not to allow these negotiations to continue?
It's the fact. Our president, Mr. Abbas, negotiated with the Israelis for 20 years. How many 20 years a nation has to waste? 20 years negotiating, giving up almost the main issues we tried and tried and tried. And reports from the US government and from the EU spells it out that the Israelis are not ready for peace. Why? Because they're building settlements on the land we're negotiating upon. How can I negotiate a piece of pizza between you and me, and while we're talking about what is your share and mine, you're eating the pizza? So we're talking about the philosophy here, not the creation of a nation and statehood.
What is the position of the President Mahmoud Abbas and the government in West Bank about all this?
Yesterday, the leadership and Mr. President Abbas said that we support the Palestinians' right to defend themselves. We are with Gaza and the struggle in Gaza in any means we can. And still we are negotiating today, right now, with the Americans and the EU and Ban Ki-moon. And the news says that there is a possibility that in the next few hours we might have some breakthrough in a ceasefire. But after the ceasefire, what happens? It's in the hands of Israel, the occupier. The occupier has to answer to all these questions. We cannot handle to have Palestinian women and children killed every 2 years. We cannot. We refuse. We refuse. They have to understand, we refuse, we will not accept it.
So you are saying that it's very necessary to find a final solution?
This is a final chapter now. This 2014 is this final chapter. Either there is peace or something else. From all the Palestinians and the Arab world and other countries.
There is a kind of a common agreement on this?
Yes, yes. Look at the streets, even when you have 500,000 people in London, non-Arabs, non-Muslim, going against Israel, and 1 million in Chicago 2 days ago, and in Pakistan and in East Afghanistan.
But what can they do, apart from protesting, I mean?
We hope that it stays at protesting. We hope, and we hope the leaders in the Western world, the democratic world, understand the message. We, the politicians, want to keep our rejection to this mass killing, these killing fields created by Israel in Palestine, to stay as demonstrating against. We cannot control everything. No country can control everything. Nobody can start a war and end it at the same time. They can start it, but nobody knows how to end it.
You said this time is going to be a final solution. Peace or something else?
Yes. But
what is this something else?
Nobody can claim. After all this, no Palestinian leader, and nobody will be more patient and flexible and wise as President Abbas, to come and sit in a chair and talk about peace with Israelis as long as they continue their way of derailing and demolishing the peace process. They have demolished the wagon of peace, and they are pulling out the tracks. So there are no tracks for the next wagon to go on. And they have to put up with it. The rockets shot from Gaza reached north of Israel this time.
A few months ago, Mr. Kerry, the US Secretary, mentioned there was a risk even there for a third intifada. Do you think there is now a possibility the conflict might widen?
We are seeing all the preludes. And not only in Palestine. You look at the situation in the neighboring countries. It's very scary. I mean, even for us Palestinians. The absence of the peace process will bring the radicals only, extreme radicals. Look at the neighboring countries. Extreme radical, even
like
against
it's happening in Iraq, for example?
Iraq and Syria. Radicals, even us, the natives, the Muslims, we have a problem with dealing with this. Not to mention foreign interest and the sources of energy in this area. It is extremely dangerous, but nobody's paying attention. They are dealing with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict as if it's a family feud. It's not a family feud. It's a nation occupying another nation.
What about the reaction of the international community? How has been this reaction so far about this new conflict? What is happening? Civilians being killed, children being killed in Gaza.
We are seeing a lot of compassion, a lot of condemnation and regrets, but regrets and condemnation does not stop this killing. When you have 5 and 6 brothers and sisters killed in each house, and have 32 homes like this, which lost everybody in the family, or the whole family killed, the mother, the father, and the brothers and sisters, and only one child left.
Do you think that EU and Western countries, even the United States, should put more pressure on Israel to find a solution?
It's not a pressure, it's one word from the White House. It will stop 5 minutes from now. 5 minutes. And we've seen that. Yeah, we've seen that with George Bush, the father, in 91, 92. One word, it all stopped. He stopped US aid, which was $10 billion. He froze it to Israel, and it all ended.
I understand.
Yes.
And what about Hamas? Hamas has said that Hamas insists that it will accept the ceasefire only after it will be allowed moving of people and goods in the Gaza Strip. But what about the rockets firing? Why does not Hamas stop?
They will stop. They want an agreement. No war on earth did not stop without an agreement, where the troops just left saying, well, it's too tough. I mean, from Normandy to Japan, to any war, there is an agreement. Mm-hmm. How to stop when the 0 hour, the withdrawal of troops, the stoppage of fire temporarily, then the full stoppage, and the political needs from each side. And both sides have political needs, but Gaza, the size of the Gaza Strip, people don't understand. It's half the size of the government of Duros, all of the Gaza Strip, with 1.8 million. Can Duros fight half of Europe? Duros by itself, with its citizens. Can they fight all of the Balkans and the NATO? This is what we're facing.
Something else, Mr. Ambassador, about the reactions, apart from the reaction of the international community, what do you think about the Albanian authorities, about the whole situation, what is happening, and the lack of reaction from Tirana?
It's very sad and disappointing, because Albanians have suffered. They have drank from this bitter cup we're drinking from now. The killing fields which Albanians had to go through, we know it. And we've seen it on TV, and some of us Palestinians were there and died with their fellow Albanians. I know a few of them personally.
Albanians?
Palestinians who fought alongside with the Albanians defending themselves.
In Kosovo, you mean?
Yes, okay. and in Bosnia. Mm-hmm. So we understand the aggression. We understand it very well. And whenever there is an aggression on a nation, whether it's in Europe or in the Middle East or Asia, some of us go as doctors, by the way, not as fighters. We go as doctors and medical experts to help our friends and all over the world. So we expect from the Albanian government to support like the rest of Europe, to take the stand of the EU, the formal stand of the EU. This is the least we expect from a friendly country, which we have centuries of
good relations. And
it's
which recognized Palestine almost 20
we have
years
centuries
ago.
before that. Centuries of our region, the East Mediterranean with Albania. The victim needs sometimes a voice, a clear voice saying that this is not right, and we are with you and we'll do our best. We don't ask for more. We don't ask for the Albanian army or any European country army to come and say, just to tell their friend Israel to stop.
What is the next step the Palestinian Authority is going to do?
The next step, right now, we're working on a stop to cease the fire, talk about politics. If there's a chance to go back to negotiations, not an open-end negotiations, it's welcomed. And if Israel continues, we'll go to the International Court of Justice and ICC and ICJ. To
ask for evaluation,
for investigation
of this new conflict, for
war crimes and genocide, both.
I see.
Under the 4th Geneva Convention.
Do you believe there's going to be a solution very soon? What is
we hope so. I think so. No war is endless. I mean, in this century, no war can go on for more than a few weeks.
I see. Mr. Ambassador, I thank you very much for this interview. If you have something to add or a message to give to the Albanian people who are watching you right now.
Thank you. I wanted to say to the Albanian public, which we've heard and seen from them, a lot of compassion. Thank you. We are indebted to you forever.
Thank you very much. Ishim në këtë bisedë me ambasadorin e Palestinës në Tiranë, Yasser Al-Najjar. Kemi diskutuar pikërisht për zhvillimet më të fundit në rripin e Gazës. Ju falenderojmë që na ndoqët.